Hello guys and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about a big story about current Ducks prospect Cutter Gauthier and him getting benched not once but twice in just his fourth NHL game. Cutter Gauthier, of course, one of the top NHL prospects over the last couple of years, a former first rounder by the Flyers traded to the Anaheim Ducks. He was supposed to have a Calder-like season, at least be one of the top candidates, and so far this season has not gone well for him. So today we're going to be breaking down what's gone wrong with him so far, what has happened as well with him and his benching recently, and what could happen going forward this season if Cutter Gauthier is still a Calder candidate. Well, make sure you watch till the end because we're going to be going through everything today, and hit that subscribe button for you for more hockey content just like this all throughout the week, all throughout the year. Now, you guys know I was a pretty big fan of Cutter Gauthier's chances for the Calder Trophy coming into the season. When it came to my official predictions, I had Mintyukov number 1, Dustin Wolf number 2, and Gauthier inside that top 3 at the third place spot. A lot of it was because of the opportunity that I thought Gauthier would get. He was looking to be a first liner for the Ducks, and considering some of the center options they could have around him in Zegras and Carlsson, how that power play could look like for Anaheim, I thought Gauthier was honestly one of the most likely players, same level as well as Mintyukov, to be able to rack up points throughout the season and at least have the production to back up a great rookie season. There might have been some growing pains here and there in terms of the actual pace, but in terms of production by the end of the season, I saw Gauthier as one of the most likely guys to be in contention for the Calder. And especially with him coming into the preseason and looking absolutely amazing, he scored a bunch of goals, had some great moments. He was heading into the year with all the momentum. But just 3 games into the season, at least when the games are mattering, Cutter Gauthier has already found himself in a weird spot with Anaheim. You can see at 20 years old, 6'2", 190 pounds. This is somebody that has gotten a lot of hype over the last couple of years, being a 5th overall pick, somebody that was looked at as a little bit of a reach at the time, but you can see what he was able to do in the NCAA afterwards. He was immediately over a point per game with Boston College, 37 points in 32 games back in 2023, and then we saw him take a big jump in 2024, getting 65 points, 38 goals in 41 games. Silly production. You can see that adjustment hasn't been so simple to the NHL level. In 3 games so far, 0 goals, 0 assists for 0 points. Anaheim's kind of had a weird schedule. They haven't played as much as some other teams out there, but Gauthier hasn't been stellar to start out the year. If you look at some of the other top rookies heading into the season, and Matvei Mintyukov, he's already a point per game for Philadelphia. Logan Stankoven above a point per game, 5 points in 4 games. Lane Hutson as a defenseman for Montreal is a point per game with 4 points in 4 games. You compare all those guys to Gauthier, who has the case to maybe be the most physically developed out of all of those players, and yet his start has been the slowest. So what gives? Well, after not really doing too much in his first couple games, the third game was pretty apocalyptic for Gauthier, and the Ducks went in a different direction pretty early on into the game. As Derek Lee says, it appears that Gauthier has been demoted to the 4th line and taken off the power play for the time being. Did not take a shift in the final 8 minutes and 38 seconds of the second period. Both Brock McGinn and Brett Leeson did not have a shift in the final 7 minutes of the period either. So it seems like already Gauthier was down to the 4th line just a few games in. And then after that, we saw more explanations saying certainly a learning experience tonight for Gauthier. He was benched for the tail end of the second period and restored to his regular line and power play at the beginning of the third period. Then he was once again benched after a less than stellar back check on Utah's 3rd goal of the game, which came 5 minutes and 21 seconds into the 3rd period, and he's not seen the ice since then. Now, what concerns me the most with this is not only was Gauthier benched once, but he was also benched twice in this game. It was pretty critical moments as well. The Ducks were within a goal or tied in this game, but he was benched in the second period, and he was also benched in the third period as well, which makes things even more complicated because it had the moment where he was benched in the second, then brought back up to the first line for that third period, and then he was just benched again. The coach wanted to give him a second chance, and Gauthier didn't deserve that second chance. It's pretty concerning that the coaching staff has given him opportunity after opportunity, and 3 games in, he is yet to really validate it. But let's take a look at that game-tying goal, which led to the second benching for Gauthier. Now, truly, I don't know how much of a fault this goal is on Gauthier, honestly. You can see Utah has the puck, it's stuck in their own zone, and then they end up getting it out. Gauthier maybe went deep a little bit too early, perhaps, but it wasn't much of a problem for him. You can see after that puck gets dumped out as Utah comes on the rush, Gauthier right here, you can make the case maybe he could be going a little bit faster, but that goal is mainly on the late line change by Anaheim, the miscommunication there, and them getting just out late in general that caused the goal. Gauthier, maybe you would have have wanted to see him back check a little bit better, but he was behind his own net by the time that puck was getting dumped out. So I just think it was a misplay in general. But that's the problem, is that when you're Gauthier and you're already not looking all that noticeable, especially on offense, and you have some of those defensive lapses when you're on the ice, you might get a little bit of unfair punishment for it. And it seems like in Gauthier's case, Anaheim was just done with playing him, especially in a critical game for them. And here you can see some of the total time on ice for the game as Anaheim won 5-4 versus Utah. Leo Carlsson, Trevor Zegras having some good performances, so it's not like all the young players were getting scapegoated here. But you can see when we go all the way down to Cutter Gauthier's time on ice, he finished with 12 minutes and 49 seconds. The previous two games, he was hovering around 14-15 minutes of time on ice. Today, it was a pretty big decrease. Now, we actually saw Ducks coach Greg Cronin asked about this after the game on his decision to move Cutter Gauthier down the lineup, and off the power play as the game progressed, he said he was struggling a bit. A 20-year-old kid, it's his fourth game in the league. As a coach, you're trying to change a little bit of chemistry. I stuck Vetrano out there for a little bit, and then I went with McGinn in the third period. Brock's been around a while. He's a 30-year-old guy. He kills penalties, and I think he's going to be able to make some plays under pressure, and Cutter's going to learn that over the course of the season. Sometimes he's going to learn by watching too. Basically calling out Cutter Gauthier and the fact that his plays under pressure and the intensity there hasn't been there up to this point, which is kind of a surprising thing to see out of Gauthier, because I think that was one of his biggest strengths as a prospect, but we've yet to see that truly with the Ducks so far. But I'm a big fan personally of what Cronin did here. If Gauthier's not playing up to snuff, then he doesn't deserve to play, especially for a competitive environment that needs to be there with a lot of younger players there. You need to be able to set an example and be able to show to the players that you will play the best players available, that you're going to need to prove to him that you are the best player available, that you can produce, that you can play under pressure. And so far it looks like, under Cronin at least, Gauthier hasn't been able to show that. Obviously, as Cronin also says, he's a 20-year-old kid, so it's not the end of the world. He's still super young, but it is interesting that Gauthier hasn't been able to show that already. Again, with it being one of his biggest strengths as a prospect, I really didn't expect the intensity to be a problem. Maybe some of the defensive play here and there, which of course seemed to be one of the reasons why he was benched in the end, but that being the case, the intensity being a question mark, the offensive production not even being there's some pretty big concerns up to this point. Now, we actually saw Trevor Zegras asked about this, and he went through a kind of a similar situation as Gauthier did last year, saying that Trevor Zegras has experienced something similar last season when he was benched against Columbus in the third period and all of overtime. Here are his thoughts on Gauthier, and he said he's an amazing player with one of the best releases I've ever seen. He's probably one of the best on the team. It's a hard league to play in, and especially with where we're at as a team, it's just about managing the game a little bit, and just going on to say that he needs to keep his head high and everything. And I love to see that out of Zegras, because he's been there, he's been through those struggles, been through those inconsistencies, and has been through being benched for them as well. And in any case, I mean, he's somebody that has played really well up to this point to start up the season. He's a good example to set for Gauthier for what can happen and the response that could be happening after something like this. After all, if you're going to be in the NHL and face the adversity that comes with it, you need to be able to face the adversity of your fluctuating playing time and be able to light a fire under yourself after something like that happens. I'm a big fan of not benching players necessarily, but being able to teach them a lesson, especially so early into their careers. They need to know that things won't come easy. Obviously, Gauthier has been learning that so far this season, because things have been extraordinarily harder for him than I think anybody expected, including himself. I mean, he had a great prospect tournament, a great preseason, was looking to be the first liner for Anaheim, but things can change in this league quick, and nobody's a better example of that than what Gauthier has shown so far. As it stands, Anaheim still has him pegged on that first line with Leo Carlsson and Alex Killorn, but as we've seen, anything can change and anything can fluctuate, and I would not be surprised if Gauthier is maybe tried on different lines, maybe on that bottom six, maybe on that second line, to try to get things going, because as of right now, it just hasn't been consistent with Anaheim up to this point. They've had some good moments and some good stretches, but this Anaheim team, with how young they are, with how inexperienced they are, finding that consistency is going to be the most important thing. So I would not be surprised if Gauthier shuffles around the lineup for the time being. But it is going to be interesting now with Gauthier, because throughout all his time in Boston College, he was the guy. He was the main sniper. He was the main one creating. But now he might have to learn to settle back a little bit and become more of this complementary player, at least to start things out, because it seems like the intensity, the speed of the game has really come up to him fast. I mean, we are seeing right right now in his BC teammate, Will Smith with the San Jose Sharks, how much it's been a challenge adapting to that speed and adapting to the pressure that comes. I'm not as surprised. I'm much less surprised that Will Smith is struggling because of his skill-based game that he has and some of the physical deficiency he has there. But in Gauthier's case, the same type of learning curves are going to be happening. And right now, it's a great example of how nothing is for sure. I mean, Gauthier was one of the top Calder candidates, and right now I think, would just be lucky to get around 30, 40 points. But I'm not really concerned long-term, especially with how Anaheim has been playing at some of their younger players, and now we've seen some of the development in guys like Mason McTavish, Leo Carlsson, and so far this year, Trevor Zegras. At least with those guys, we've seen some struggles, some inconsistencies, but them getting over it and being the players they need to. We're already seeing that in McTavish. We saw that in Leo Carlsson last night, a beautiful overtime winner against Utah, a great game there for him. I have little suspicions around Gauthier and his potential long-term. He's still going to be a great player, still going to be a beast of a player, but he's somebody that will have to learn these lessons, and it looks like he's learning them pretty early on. Before the season started, I would have pegged Gauthier to be around 50, maybe 60 points or so. He, to me, right up there with guys like Stankoven and Mintyukov, were, to me, some of the for sure performers for this year. As of right now, I would decrease that a little bit. I would probably say around 40 points would be realistic at this point. I still think he's going to get past this, and I still think he's going to be an important part, especially of that power play, which, of course, will still be able to rise his production eventually. But I think these first couple months are going to be big for him to really take some steps forward, be a lot more comfortable at the NHL level, and light a fire under himself. He needs to look a lot cleaner. He needs to look a lot faster, and I think Gauthier knows that too. He's somebody that has a lot more potential and is a lot better than what he's shown so far. We saw that in the preseason. We saw that in all the games he's played over the last couple of seasons. This guy can be a beast, and I think some of it as well can be mental, especially for such a young player, especially for a guy just coming into the NHL. A lot of it is adapting to the schedule, adapting to what a pro style is. I think for a lot of these NCAA guys, we forget that their seasons aren't that long. I mean, the most games he played was last year, playing 41 games, but it is an 82-game season. It is hard. It is relentless, and especially on your body, it's going to take some adaptability. And I think in Gauthier's case, like a lot of NCAA prospects that we see, there is always that learning curve. It's a little bit better for CHL players because they're used to that type of workload, but for some of these NCAA guys, it's just not there, and those early season struggles aren't much of a surprise. I just know that all the Flyers fans watching this video are going to be eating it up because of the trade that happened, but I don't think that Ducks fans should be worrying whatsoever. I mean, you see it in some of the younger players that have already been there, some of the younger players that have already taken those steps forward this season. It'll take some time for Gauthier, but the trade is not a bust. He's not a bust yet. Come on, don't say stuff like that, because Gauthier is going to end up proving that pretty wrong pretty quickly. I gotta say though, outside of what Gauthier has shown so far, this Ducks team has been so much fun to watch. Watching that overtime versus Utah, there were so many good moments. I mean, that Leo Carlsson shift leading up to the goal itself was just straight magical. What Anaheim has been building recently is special, and they're going to be super fun to watch in the future. There is going to be some growing pains. There are going to be some prospects here and there that have some inconsistencies. Trevor Zegras as well is a great example of that, and what he went through last year with his health, with the just weird play that he had surrounding him. But he's somebody that also has a great future with the Ducks, and I think still has potential to stay with that team, even amid all the trade rumors that we talked about over the last year. Anaheim has a lot to look forward to, and Gauthier, even with these struggles to start out, is going to be a big part of that. But I'd love to hear your thoughts down below on the whole benching of Cutter Gauthier and the situation surrounding him. Are you concerned? Are you worried? Or do you think he will still be a top-tier Calder candidate? I would love to hear your thoughts down below on that. What do you guys think of the Cutter Gauthier trade now? What do you think of this future? And let me know all your thoughts down below. Of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already, and share the video with all the hockey fans online to get the news out to them, and click on this card for all my hockey prospect talk right in one playlist. My name is Nathan, and I will see you guys in the next one, and I hope you have a fantastic hockey day. Goodbye.